Canada is removing many retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods as talks continue between the federal government and U.S. officials to reach a trade deal. This means on the American goods that are covered by the free trade agreement between the two countries. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced this on Friday, saying this will help kickstart negotiations on a new trade and security deal with the U.S. Joining us now from the Manitoba Chambers of Commerce is Chuck Davidson. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Rochelle.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, before we get to this new deal by Carney, let's talk about what businesses have been seeing so far with the trade, because these tariffs have been in place for a while now. This trade war continues.
Yeah.
What are you seeing from local businesses?
Yeah, so look, I think we've been going through this for the past 8 months, and I think this has been a challenge for business because they love to live in a world of certainty. And so what we've seen is that businesses have, in a lot of cases, have held off on making decisions, whether it be on investing in capital, investing in people, investing in their businesses, until they can get a little bit more understanding of what this looks like. When you look at the broader numbers overall from a Canadian perspective as well, and Manitoba obviously included in that, what we have seen is a decrease in exports to the United States. Typically in the past, we were somewhere in the neighborhood about 73, 74%. I saw some May numbers that showed us at about 67, 68%. So what we're seeing is that there is being an impact on this. We're exporting less to the U.S. as a result of this. The positive is that, and one of the things that we've talked about repeatedly, is we need to explore new markets. And so we have seen an increase in trade with other jurisdictions, not to the same dollar level, but we have seen an increase in that percentage. So that's a good thing. And that's one of the things that we've continually talked about, is that when you have an unreliable trading partner, you need to start looking at other opportunities. And so some of those opportunities are existing relationships that we have with other countries. It's also about interprovincial trade barriers. How can we do more trade within Canada as well? And so these are things that businesses have been looking at to make up that loss of what's happening south of the border. But at the same time, it's not to the same extent, which is why it's important. What Prime Minister Carney did, I think, on Friday, is we've got to get that negotiation with the U.S. back on the table. We need to find a conclusion to this situation, whether it's a 0% tariff and we're back to how we were pre all of this nonsense,
right,
or the best deal that we can for Canada. That's what's most important for businesses and for the average Canadian consumer.
So Friday's announcement, what does it mean exactly?
Well, I think what it means is that, so currently 80 to 85% of goods that we trade with the U.S. are now CUSMA compliant, and which means there is zero tariff. There are still areas with automobiles, there are still areas with steel and aluminum where the tariffs continue on. Those are problematic. Those are the key areas that we need to have those conversations on, about how do we get those tariffs as close to zero in those areas, because those are key from a manufacturing perspective. For Manitoba, a lot of manufacturers deal with the U.S. Those are still problematic. What's happened, I think, on Friday is a step from the Canadian government to say, okay, we're getting closer, let's sit down, let's hammer this out, and let's get a deal that's going to be in the best interest of both countries.
Some critics, though, have said that this is far from the elbows up movement and more of an elbows down kind of move.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, and I understand that. And I think the reality, I think what we've found over the course of these past 8 months is there is no straight line to negotiations with President Trump. It seems to go up and down on a daily basis. So you need to understand what he's looking for and understanding what's in the best interest of Canada at the same time. And so, is there times to have elbows up? Absolutely, and I think we did that when we put the retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. I think when they've come down, you need to show a sign of good faith when you're negotiating, that how do we get a deal at the end of the day? Because it's not going to be a Canada wins, U.S. loses. You need to find a relationship where both sides are going to win on this.
Okay, Chuck, thanks for your expertise on this.
Always a pleasure.